Welcome to Get Your Mind Right, the podcast where merchant services, digital marketing, and personal growth collide. Tune in for real talk, fresh insights, and the motivation to level up.
Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Get Your Mind Right, Boots on the Ground. Now, we've got a really special episode today, and with me today is the president of the Evolv Kansas City market, Drew Smith. Good morning, Drew.
Hey, good morning, John. I tell you what, I know you may not know this, but I just got off a call with John running it. I got a lot to stand up to here, but it's okay. We're going to work hard, really. We're going to really work hard on it. No pressure. No pressure. Hey, we're coming up on Christmas around here, and I don't know about you, but about October, we started seeing the red and the white and all the colors of Christmas. And it's got me thinking about it and the season of love. So we're going to talk about V-Love today. Don't let anybody know, but that's Evolv backwards. But yep, 12 days of sales calls. And I asked ChatGPT to make up a song for me, but we're going to spare your listeners.
Drew, I hear you have a wonderful singing voice.
I don't. That was part of the humor. That was part of the humor. Although I don't know if you've noticed, but with this tech now, the young people are using tech to change their voice in real time, and everybody's a fantastic singer now. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Okay.
But I tell you what, we're going to talk about ourselves and sales. And one of the things that is key to all this is you need a proper vision of yourself. Don't you think so, John? Isn't it helpful to have a good vision of yourself?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's the best Christmas gift that I want to say you can give yourself today is a proper vision of yourself. Now, I want you to chime in with me, John, because you're really good at this, But for me, I have statements. I'm a Christian, and I use the Bible, and there are promises, there are statements in my book, I call it, that tell me what is true about me. And sometimes what you believe about yourself isn't true. I'm going to say it again. Sometimes what you believe about yourself is not true. Now, that's kind of weird, but we do lie to ourselves a lot. And so what is the benefit of having proper vision and vision statements is that you can do these morning affirmations every morning. You don't have to say them out loud, although science will tell you if you say it out loud, it'll hit you in a different way. Have you done that, John? Have you tried this?
I absolutely have. I do this myself. I would like to say I do it every morning, but it's more like 5 times a week.
Hey, that's pretty good. 5 times a week. I think I'm more of a 2 to 3, but I'll tell you, whatever it is, it works. It's really helpful. It starts to rewire our brain and our nervous system. Really important to rewire our nervous system. And I'll tell you, this is especially true for you girls and gals and ladies out there. Got to stop our negative self-talk. Now, guys do this too, but I'm married to one of these female people, and I think it's tougher. It's just harder, and you got to really work on that. And it is just not true. This negative self-talk, wherever it came from, we got to just stop it. Just don't do it. Now, that's easy to say. That's like that old episode, where the lady talks to the psychiatrist. Stop it. That's the key. But if you can really work at not finishing the sentence, right, it will eventually, your morning affirmations will drown out negative self-talk. Only speak positively, especially about yourself. John, what's one affirmation you say generally? You don't have to give away your secrets, but like, what's it about? Like, what are you trying to do for yourself in those affirmations?
Oh man. Well, this is really personal. I wasn't.
Oh no, I don't want to get super personal, but like, you try to feel positive about like who you are or what. Give us a little bit of a target.
So I'll go an angle you talk about. I too am a Christian, Drew, and part of this in the morning is I try to take away things that John's natural backup behavior that is not really desirable.
Perfect.
And try to interject what Christ would do in that situation.
Love that. They're a great example. So whatever, we all have different books, I feel like, but that's a good book, and I recommend it. Okay, L. We're on to L. You got to have some light on your path, right? You gotta see where you're going. So one of my mentors, shout out Sean Peterson here in the payments world, he challenged me one day to literally make a vision board in a literal sense. And I did. I actually made the board, put it on my wall so that I see it. And it reminded me every day of why I do the little things. Because when you get in the grit and grime of your job, whatever your job is, we're talking about sales here, that one more call, like one of the rules we have is 5 before 9, or no, I'm sorry, 10 before 9 and 5 after 5. That's a
What
cold
does that
call.
mean?
Cold call rule. So I want to call 10 or 9 people before 9 o'clock, intentional, specific, like I really want to connect with these people because that's a great window to connect, especially cell phones. You got a cell phone of an owner, call 9 of them before 9 o'clock. Okay. That's a rule that we live by here in the office. Then 5 after 5. Okay. Now don't tell HR that, but 5 after 5. And so the idea there is that people, especially owners, are available after 5. So those are kind of, but that's hard. Like when you're done, you put in a long day, that 5 after 5, you're like, vision board. If you know why you're calling 5 after 5, that makes the medicine go down a whole lot easier. It didn't just work for Mary Poppins, right?
Yes.
So here's some questions for us. Where are you going next year? We talk a lot about BHAG, right, John? The
Yes.
hairy, audacious goal. What are you doing? All that. Where are you going next year? Right now, if you're like, doing this consistently, I bet you better be planning for next year. I know, John, you've been challenging me about next year already. So we got to do that. We got to plan for next year. Do you know where you're going? Do you know where you're trying to get there? Because a wise person said, if you don't know where you're going, you're going to get there. And we can start now, right? We can start now. I think that's it's a cute way to say it, but really, whatever target you're aiming at, you're probably going to hit. Okay. And so if your bow is not at a target, it's just randomly somewhere, you're probably going to hit that bow too. So
Hey,
yeah,
Drew, let's circle back a second
yeah,
to your vision board here. So
yeah.
I am ashamed to tell you this. That's probably been on my to-do list for 7 or 8 months.
Me too. We should keep each other accountable. I don't have one right now.
Oh, you don't have it yet.
I did. And then we moved, and actually I've changed a lot. I don't have one either, John.
Okay, well, tell me the psychology of why you're not doing it. Maybe I'll understand mine.
That's a great. We're really getting into the deepness here of Drew, but distraction, don't value it as important, right? If you got those 4 Covey quadrants, remember the quadrants, right? You've got
Yeah.
urgent, what was it? Important and not important, urgent and not urgent, right?
Right.
So the quadrant that makes you the most money is the very important, not urgent quadrant. Very important, not urgent. This is the very important, not urgent quadrant. I'm bad at that right now. I used to, and I'm gonna now you're getting me convicted here. I used to every quarter take 2 days for planning.
Oh yeah.
Turned off the email, let everybody know it wasn't a secret. Hey, I'm not taking the day off. I'm here, but don't bug me unless something's on fire. I'm going to be planning for 2 days. And I usually spent the night at, a hotel. I wasn't even home. It would be like kind of a retreat. And I would just take a full 48 hours. Of the whole point was to plan the next quarter. And then I would review my year's goals and all that. And we could go in deep on that, roles and goals. And I used to train people on visions for their life and all that. That's a whole nother podcast. But how to run a retreat is kind of an important thing for you. So a planning retreat is really important. Looks like I got to take my own medicine. But because I haven't worked on not urgent but important as much, I'm messing that up. I don't have my vision board.
We just really get stuck and commanded by what we perceive as the urgent. I can tell you, you said I understand my psychology now. That's why.
Yeah,
That's why.
sure.
You
There's
know, I
pressure. There's
hmm
pressure.
hmm
There's pressure to perform. There's pressure to make sure everybody knows you're performing, right? It's not just that you're performing, but that everyone sees that key hit the door at the right time. And there's a lot of mystique and image to kind of give off here. But I think we can accomplish the same thing when we start to value not urgent and important. It's got to come from the top, right? If your boss isn't valuing it, you're not going to value it. But I think if you can, we can lead from below. We can lead our bosses, right? I try to lead from behind all the time, and it may irritate. Sorry, John. And so those things happen. So encourage each other, and we'll keep each other accountable. But vision board of goals, very important, very important. All right, we're going to move on. I know there's a lot to talk about there, but hopefully we got you thinking. Oh, opportunity, huge, 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 huge. Every second counts. Every second counts. I learned this from a 80-year-old equipment operator. I used to own a heavy equipment business. We dug dirt. And I came to him one day. I mean, he's 80, right? And he's running that big dozer. And all the other people in our company were in their 20s. Okay. But he's 80. So just wrap your mind around an 80-year-old guy in heavy equipment. And I got at lunch, I went up to him because he eats his lunch in the cab, right? Because getting up and out of that thing's a big deal. So I went up to him over lunch and I said, "Hey, I got a question for you." He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Your machine doesn't run the fastest. You don't always throttle that thing all the way up, and you don't like you just don't work the same way." I said, "But you get more done than anybody else. What's your secret?" And he goes, and he started smiling and laughing, and he goes, "You notice, huh?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, I know that in his case, bucket, he was a loader operator. Every bucket counts. And I don't stop until it's lunch. See all these other guys, they stop, they get out, they go use the restroom, they stop to each other, they talk to each other. They go, every time they do that, in a day's time, I'm making it up on them. Every bucket counts. And so that's true in sales. Every second counts. I know that our desire is to, I call it fiddle fart around, to, just like that it doesn't have meaning, but I'm going to tell you it has meaning, right? Every second counts. Be intentional with your time and remember your goals, right? Everything is a learning opportunity. That's another principle. You're not making mistakes, guys. Get over it. Everything's a learning opportunity. This is just an opportunity for you to learn. I love our inventor. Well, he didn't invent the light bulb, but Edison. He said that he had all those experiments, right, that didn't go well. And they're like,
hmm
how did you overcome that failure? He goes, "Oh, I knew every time I did it, it was one more way that I learned you could not build the light bulb that way." And he had that positive energy into this learning process that was really, really helpful. And I've taken that on for Sean Peterson. Again, shout out. It's a learning opportunity. So Evolv, by the way, guys, is our single greatest opportunity in our temporal life. I really think that this company is positioned, and if you're involved in our ecosystem, and if you're not, you ought to be. Give a call out to Jerry if you're an independent. Give a call out to the corporate office if you want to be a part of it as an employee. Right now, this is a single biggest opportunity of our lifetime to be around Evolv. The people that are assembled here, the things that we're doing, just even rubbing shoulders with this type of environment, it's going to change your life. Would you agree with that, John? You've been in several environments over the years.
Yeah, it's changed my life in a number of ways, and it's personally speaking, and that's what we've done. People that are that really buy into it and apply themselves. Drew, you've got two great cases in your
Mhm.
office there.
Yeah, right, for sure. Yeah, Em and Reagan, they they had never held a sales job, John.
Oh, I know, and they both had success, and the
Yeah,
other thing is, and I tell them this any opportunity, they don't know it, but they're just getting started. But you know, I look at their past and just even, you know, forget about professional or your professional progress and your money, just their confidence and how they hold themselves and how they see themselves. It's
Exactly.
completely different than when I met them.
Huge. It's huge. Yeah, I love that. And that's the thing we're doing here at Evolv, and really what you should do for yourself. I hope you're getting that vibe. You are the tool. You are the whole focus. Your success is limited by yourself. So if you improve yourself, you're going to improve your success. You can't succeed past yourself. It really doesn't happen. And if it does happen, like lottery winners, it just shows you that they end up losing all their money anyway. They weren't ready for it. So don't waste it, guys. O is for opportunity. V is for value. Okay. This is also so important. You're doing all this stuff. We focused on ourselves. We've got our vision. We've set our affirmations. We're seizing opportunity to do what? To build value. You got to build value for yourself, for your team, for the business owners. I use merchants. I'm getting away from the word merchants. They don't call them that anymore. They call themselves business owners, but bring value to business owners and bring value ultimately to your future, which doesn't have anything to do with you. Having been around my parents who are now 80, my mom's 80, my dad just passed this year. Their lives were really at the end of the day about the next generation, right? And that's true for us, whether that's your actual children or the people that you trained, the people that you're around. That's your future is held in the hands of the next people, right? You're going to be remembered from them. You're going to have these stories. You will impact people. You have an opportunity here to change lives, not only yourself but others. So bring value. One of the best ways you can bring value is take 5 minutes out of your day and go, okay, how can I best help my team? Just ask that question. Could be a simple thing. It could be, I'm going to bring a note tomorrow to encourage them. It could be, I'm going, just simple stuff, guys. I bet if you take that time, seize the opportunity, just take that 5 minutes, again, important, not urgent, and go, how can I bring value to, and list that out. If you just ask that question of yourself, I think you'll come a long way, and you can bring value to your team, to the business owners, and to our future. Because we bring value to our customers every day, right? That's what we do. We offer solutions, and that's what our business is all about. And that's why I think Evolv is successful. They asked the founder, Steve Jobs, about Apple, like why he thought Apple was successful, and he said it's because I figured out a way to help every person on the planet.
Mm.
I was like, whoa, there you go. So if you can figure that out, you can be Steve Jobs in terms of his success and wealth. So
I'll tell you something else about him. I
Yeah.
don't know how knowledgeable you are about him, Drew. I'm semi-knowledgeable, but that's a guy you talk about a guy that's rehabbed his image after his death.
hmm
He was a
Yeah.
Jobs obviously did great things, and even more than that, inspired greatness in others. But it was uncomfortable.
Mm. Mm.
He was tough.
Yeah, he was tough. I heard, absolutely. I do like some of his quotes. I never worked for him, but we'll save that for another time. But man, there's a lot going on right now. You can glean from.
He's so late. There was a great story. It was he is now an Apple billionaire, but he was one of the guys who got in on the ground floor, and it was early on when they had their Macintosh and they had some hardware problem, and it was an engineering issue, and it was just insane the hours they were putting in Apple. I mean, people had like cots and stuff in their office, and they might be there 3 or 4 days and not leave, right? So they done like 2 all-nighters in a row. And he said that so it's like midnight, and he said they were just beat and defeated, and Jobs happens to show up, and he's got his turtleneck on, and he's refreshed and feeling good. Hey, where are you guys on this? They said, Steve, we're just got to go somewhere else. We've hit the wall. And Jobs looked at all of them and made eye contact. He says, you all disgust me. I've never seen such a bunch of whiny quitters in all of my life. And stomps out of the movie and out of the meeting. And the people in the meeting just went ballistic. And they're all ready to quit, But so they got over being mad. Well, guess what? That was what broke the spell. And they figured out the problem not long after that.
Isn't that something? Wow.
But he said that we were still mad at Jobs. He said
Sure.
we gave him credit, but we were still mad.
You bet. Yeah, the job of a leader is not an easy job. It really isn't. E for excellence. We've talked about a lot of excellence today. Here is the thing that I really want. If you don't hear anything else, excellence doesn't just find you. Okay, you don't just like walk around and randomly become excellent. You don't just like take extra naps and or the proverb says the sluggard won't even lift his dish from the bowl to his mouth, right? like like you're not gonna find excellence just happenstance. You have to run at it. You've got to pursue excellence, right? Sales strategy, you've got to be excellent. What is a good sales strategy? Personal relationships, you've got to be excellent at them. Product knowledge, you've got to be excellent. I'll just stop. I got a couple stories here. Product knowledge. When I was first at Evolv, I was meeting Casey for the first time. She was at the conference, and I not really interacted with Casey very much. And if you know Casey, she kind of runs the roost here and very involved and been at Evolv for over 20 years. I don't know the record, but long time.
Not 25, I think now.
25. Is it longer than you, John? Is she?
Just a little bit. 6 or 8 months.
Yeah. So she's been around, and I asked her this question. I said, "What's the single best thing that you would give a salesperson advice?" She said, "Gotta know what you're selling. You gotta know your products. If you don't know your products, you're not going to be any good to anybody." That I thought, okay, that's got to be really important. Somebody that's been around a very long time, you got to know your products inside and out, and that takes effort, right, John? I mean, we have a complicated industry, and it's just so important to know your products. You've got to pursue excellence and reputation. You've got to pursue excellence in your personality modification. We can talk about that one in the end, but I don't know if you agree with this, John, but you can change your personality. Think that's true?
You could change your personality. Well,
I get a lot of pushback when I say this.
I don't think that's true. We may be talking about two different things here. I think you can change on how you react to things, and
Yep.
I think you could change on how you internalize those things. But I think you're always, if you've got personality traits that need to be changed, I think you're stuck with them.
So by the way, I kind of set you up to argue with you because
imagine that.
Yeah, because most people don't believe this, okay? But I'll give you one example, and I actually use the word personality modification intentionally because no one's going to agree to that, right? And it's been ingrained in us that you take what do you take? A personality test, right? You take it's like, here is your template. Boom, this is who you are, right? And so we've been engineered by the smart ones that give the tests, right? That this is your ingrained personality. But here, let me give you maybe a rebuttal onto this way of thinking. If you were not humble in your life, okay? Say you're not humble, arrogant, you were pushy, you didn't listen, okay? Would you define that? Would people perceive that as part of, quote, your personality? They might, right? He's type A or he's whatever.
Yeah.
Let's say you have an experience, go through something, it humbles you. At the end of that experience, you have turned into a humble person. I would argue your personality changes. Now, that humility can happen to you, which does. Life has its own way of humbling us. But there are ways, and the ancients knew this, there are ways that you can humble yourself. Okay? Best way to humble yourself, 20-day fast. Go on a 20-day non-food fast. Great way for humility. Perfect. The fact that I know it is most Americans have never done it. So it's an incredible personality modifier, intentional suffering that is actually really healthy, just like working out. Working out's suffering, right? right? We do this, we work out, right? That's intentional suffering. There's a lot of intentional suffering that has great benefit to you. So there are ways to change your personality and modify really what we're talking about is your character, right? But you've got to pursue that. You've got to pursue excellence in all of that, right? Sales strategy. John, what you're like the savant of this stuff. If we wanted to change sales strategies and figure that out, what could we do? What like I don't even know. What would we do in this conversation? You're like the savant of sales strategy.
So you're talking about like our whole organization if we want
No,
to
no,
change
no.
it?
Like personally, like if you're a salesperson
Oh,
and you're like, I got to figure out a different way to do this, how would you
yeah.
go about starting to develop that?
Well, that's pretty easy. The first thing I'm going to do is I want to find out where you are today. You know,
Ooh,
so
that's
so
good.
so so what are you doing today? What do you perceive as working? What do you perceive is not working? Where do you want to be? And like what you said earlier, Drew, about reflection, a lot of people they can't. The first thing they're going to say is, I don't know."
Right, right.
Okay.
Totally. That's most people, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
it's like going to it's like you asked me that question. To me, it's like going to a doctor, and I'm gonna say the doctor is saying, "Hey, there's something really wrong with me, but I'm not gonna give you any information. You're the doctor. Without talking to me, you need to figure this out."
Right. Not going to be very successful, are we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you asked that where you are. So where you are in the map. What could be an answer of that? Give us an example of how you would answer that. Know where you're at. What does that mean? Like
Yeah.
make up a
Okay. Well,
scenario.
so I'm going to start with it could be any sales job. I want to understand what you do,
Okay.
right? I want to understand what your company's value proposition is. I'm
Okay.
gonna understand what that person's value proposition is, and I'm gonna say, okay,
Okay.
I'm gonna start on production. What does your company expect you to do? What do you expect you to do? Is there a gap there?
Okay. Great
And
questions.
though that's really gonna yeah, I could give you more questions, but those if someone's answering me honestly and openly, that's gonna lead me to a whole new series of questions to really diagnose what's going on with them.
And really, we can do this for ourselves. We don't have to be called out by our boss, right?
Oh yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Right.
It's just so hard. I mean, Drew, this falls. I wrote this down earlier. This falls into for a lot of salespeople the very important but not urgent, right? To really
Yeah.
take an objective look at what you're doing.
Yes. It's so important. Now, I don't. You and I have talked off this show, not on the show, but about AI a lot, right?
Uh huh.
And I think my hunch is the modern salesperson is going to be less in the weeds and more in the strategy. I think that the amount of time that we're going to be spending doing strategic things is going to grow over the next few years more and more. So if we don't have these skills and we're not building them right now, we're going to be left in the dust from people that do have them, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're really good at just following orders, right, and you're really good at just do the call, do the, just don't think, just blah blah blah, which by the way is a great gift, but that's all you're good at, and you never really stop and think like, why am I doing this? Is it working? All this stuff, like we call it like sharpening the saw, right? That's that old thing that if I'm going to go cut down a tree with an axe, I'm going to spend the first hour and a half sharpening my saw, right? If you've ever tried to cut anything with a dull axe, and I taught my son that, I was like, he took this hatchet and he was wailing on it, man. I mean, he was wailing on it. And it was basically a hammer, right? It was just a really skinny hammer and it was doing nothing. And I was like, okay, how hard is that? He's like, it's really hard. I go, I'm going to do something for you, but don't cut your foot off. He's like, what do you mean? And so what I did is I took a grinder, right, and I sharpened it. At least it doesn't take as long as when it did in the 1800s, right? But I took a grinder and I sharpened it, and then I handed it back to him. And he cut that so fast, and he goes, "What did you do to that saw?" And he was young, right, 7. And I was like, "Well, I sharpened it." That's exactly what sales strategy does for you. If you can sharpen that saw, right? How's your cold call working? What's your lines? What do you say? Right? What's failing every time that you keep doing it, right? Do you record your calls and then do you listen to them? man, nothing's worse than listening to your own calls. You realize all the different ticks and things that you say that you're like, right? And you got to change those things. So you can improve those things. The more that we do that for ourselves, the greater guarantee you have of increasing your value for your future self, right? Which is what we're talking about today. All this is about what we're talking about today. How can you increase your value so that no matter what, you're always going to have a job? You're always going to be valuable, not only to the people around you, but even to yourself, right? So sales strategy is really important. Personal relationships, super important. Doesn't matter how successful at your job is. If you don't have good relationships around you, they're not going to want you to be around there. So that's really, really key. We got to work with each other. Um, one of the things I always teach my people is that when the phone rings, okay, let's say we're calling into sales support, all right, and sales support, let's say 3 lines light up, okay. Now they would deny this hand and foot, but I'm just going to tell you that this is just world according to Drew, okay. There's 3 lines that light up. Okay, one's you and one's some other person, and the third person is somebody they've always loved talking to. Which one are they going to answer?
Someone they love talking to.
So if you don't appreciate that and realize that's what happens, that no one ever helps me, or I can't get any help, or I'm got blocked. It's like,
Yeah.
always, are you using the word always here? Like, well, there might be a reason for that. And that's a tough road to hoe, as they say. It's tough because I don't know about you, John, but I'm not perfect. I got issues. I'm far, far from perfect. And and the more leadership and the more responsibility you have, the more you realize how far that hill is to climb. But we got to face it, right? Hey, John, do you have any tips? How do you face that stuff? How do you work on that? How do you identify that? Do you have any tricks?
You know, once again, I find myself really stuck in the urgency of the day,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm hard headed too, Drew. You may have picked that up. So sometimes I got to get smacked in the face, and step back and really take a look at the issue and peel it apart. But
Yeah,
now,
identify
now
that.
you're saying that, I wish I were more aware of these things as they were happening versus it going on, and that issue builds a head
Yeah,
of steam.
you bet. I think it's so funny, John. You're very hard on yourself, and but that's why you've been successful. You're pursuing that excellence. You're driving that, and one thing I've learned is I have a preview and a review of my day. Preview and review. So I preview my day. Usually, it's on my way to work. I put my calendar up. I've definitely done it already. Like I've looked at probably 4 times before, but I always do this. So I put my calendar up, and for me, I pray through it. Right? You don't have to do that. You can meditate, whatever you want to do. But I look over my calendar, I think about that, and I visualize my day. Like this call, to be set up for this call, I visualized everything this morning, like how I was going to do it, how I wanted, all of it, right? The shirt I was going to wear, all that stuff. I had to, since it's flipped on Zoom, I didn't know which side to push. Anyway, so all of it, preview. You got to preview your day. That's thing one. Then thing two, review your day. What I do, I call it my garage time. Okay. I'll pull in home, I'll pull into the garage, and I'll shut the door, and I will not get out of my car until I've reviewed my day. Doesn't have to take very long. 2, 3, 4 minutes. Sometimes on a bad day though, that garage light turns out, it comes on automatically, but that's when I know I've had a bad day, is the lights totally turn off on me. And I'm like, oh boy, I better take some extra time here. But I want to review my day because that helps me remember and sort of understand more. Again, I involve faith in all of those processes, but I think even if you're not a faith person, you can apply these principles, and they're going to work for you. But for me, I pray and I ask God about the day, and so preview and review. That's a strategy I have to pursuing excellence, and that's John. That's what I got, and And if you can be very loving to yourself, be love, you can evolve, right? And that's why we're here at Evolv. I love that we named our company Evolv. I was not a part of that, but I'm so glad to be a part of the actual company itself. And we are evolving every day as a company and as people, individuals. And I'm just excited to be part of the team. That's what I got for you, John.
It is too, Drew. People talk about the money associated with merchant services, and it obviously it is outrageous. To me, it's more about the positive impact that we have on folks' lives. Like changing
Yes.
lives. That's more important than money. I mean, the money follows all that.
Yeah, we wouldn't have the money if we weren't changing lives, I would argue.
Right. Right. Yeah.
You wouldn't.
Yeah. It's
You
not.
just wouldn't.
It's the result, not the cause.
Exactly. But we do get it back when we're young. We get it backwards. But
Mhm.
now, little gray hair on me. I finally figured out it's an effect of what we're doing every day, not a driving force.
Well, Drew, I absolutely loved your holiday message. There's a lot of good stuff in here for folks to take
Hope it
home.
helps.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
This is a great way to end the year.
Awesome. Well, Merry Christmas to you, John.
Merry Christmas to you, Drew. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you, John. See you guys.
So,
What?
so for
Get more?
Drew Smith, I'm John Johnson, and I'll see you here on Friday for Get Your Mind Right Mailbag Edition.